Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Vladimir Deese and welcome to another Class War Battlefield Podcast YouTube comment. Storm's Cloud Gathering. I just watched your Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman video, and as always a marvelously well done video. I appreciate it, and I would like to make a challenge to you before I actually make a comment on the video. I would love for you to make a video, an extended video actually, on the birth of the police state in the black community in America, and it's spreading from the black community into the white suburbs and beyond actually. And you might also want to make another video on the birth of the police state in other nations funded by America, and then of course bringing that technology home to America. See, the reason why I'm asking you to do this is because I think you have a blind spot as to the amount of police brutality and surveillance that black people have actually had to endure in this country. And while, yes, in the grand scheme of things, the George Zimmerman trial isn't going to have an impact on a lot of white Americans, black Americans see it as just another example of us not having the same rights as white Americans. Now, the media is slow to react to anything related to black people unless it does have racial overtones. And they did not immediately go and cover this entire thing. Actually, the ironic thing is, if you go back a year, don't forget this started a year ago, nobody was covering the Trayvon Martin case. Nobody had really heard about it except for the blogosphere. And a handful of black blogs actually were asking the right questions, which were not, oh my God, was there race involved? No, it was, wait a minute, how did this guy Zimmerman shoot and kill an unarmed kid and not get charged with anything? How does that happen in America in 2012? And so the first challenge that they had was to raise public consciousness in order to push the Sanford PD to investigate the case more and maybe bring charges. Ultimately, the amount of public pressure, which was first started on the internet, it moved. It was about a month in between it being sparked on the internet to it moving to the major media. It was about a month. But people were already writing to the Sanford PD saying, hey, why aren't you investigating this? And then the media picked up on it. Now, I think what the media actually expected to happen this time around was what happened with Omar Thomas, I think is his name, and maybe not, but the black man who was shot while, what was it? I think it was in San Francisco. He was waiting for the BART train, and the police officer actually had handcuffed him and then pulled out his gun for really no reason and then shot the guy. It was somewhat by accident, but whatever. A year later, they had the trial. The police officer was acquitted. Nothing happened. I think the media expected that to happen this time. Was just, they did their due diligence, forget about it, let it go. And what happened was, over the last couple of years, especially since Barack Obama was elected, black people have basically been told to shut up about race. We've been told that it doesn't matter anymore. And during that same time period, the problems with the police have been mounting. They haven't been getting better, but they have been mounting. You rightfully talked about some of the problems with the friend of the two individuals who were, I think it was the friend of the individual who was charged with the Boston bombing, and the person being shot in the head. You rightfully talked about that, but you didn't talk about stop and frisk, which is huge right now, and has been impacting black people for a couple of years now. And really impacting black people for a couple of years. It has been the unlawful searching of black people. Just the police can stop them and say, hey, we think you look suspicious, we're going to search you. I'm surprised you didn't talk about that. That would have been one of the stories to actually cover. Black people have been catching hell. And the reason why this, particularly for black people, the reason why this has been so heavily covered within our community is because it's just another example of our worthlessness. Now, this is not something that I think you understand. To you, it's just, oh, it's all about divide and conquer, divide and conquer, divide and conquer. No, it actually gives white America a very big opportunity to actually come join us. See, because what's been happening to us is now happening to you. You can come join us and understand that racism, as it has always existed, has had two main components. And only when you understand that racism has these two components will you realize that it impacts you more than it impacts me. Racism has the primary components of racism, two of them. Outside of prejudice, discrimination, things like that, which and bigotry, which can spread out among these two dynamics, is classism and ethnicism. Ethnicism is based on this, color of my skin. Classism, of course, is based on economic status. What you are seeing now with the police state, which you do a very good job of documenting, I love your videos on it. What you're seeing now with the rise of the police state is a racism based on classism being now more forcefully executed. The people in power, which you have talked about, want to maintain control. What they are doing now is they're implementing a class-based racist system, whereas there only used to be an ethnic-based racial system. It's now spreading. In order for you to understand what you are going to be up against, you must understand what racism in terms of ethnicism is really about. It's about dehumanization. Now, you've talked about in one of your great videos, actually, the plans for the DHS to, I'm trying to think of the exact term that you used, but basically to intern people into these large camps. They've a paper that they had written about it, you covered brilliantly. Well, let me ask you something. Who do you think are going to be the first people to end up in those camps? For the last 30 plus years, there has been, well, for the last actually couple hundred years, there's been a running gag in this country, and I do mean gag because it is a joke, that black people are inferior. Who do you think is going to be the first group to end up in those encampments? Actually, if you look back in 2010, I live in New York State. Not 2010, actually. I think it was 2010. We had a governorial candidate, sorry for my English there, who proposed basically putting black people in camps to teach us better. I mean, he literally talked about that as a solution to inner city problems. So what you're talking about, the people who are going to first be hit are likely going to be black people. You need to understand now what you are really up against. The people who are going to be coming after you guys, they look at you as subhuman. They always actually have looked at you as subhuman, but they needed you to play against black people until they could create the technology basically to enslave you. And now they have that technology. You're worthless to them now. From an economic standpoint, you are worthless to them now. You need to start studying what was done to blacks after we were released from slavery, because then you'll understand what they're going to be trying to do to you. I want to thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can write to me at class4battlefield@live.com. Thank you. Peace.